My father always told me that the most interesting era for movies was the 1970s. And I've always kind of agreed with him. Theater attendance declined in the 50s and 60s as a result of television, and studios took a big hit. And they ended up giving independent filmmakers a chance they never had before, and probably haven't had since. Digging through the crates of 70s movies, you find yourself at a loss for how many of those movies were fantastic, but hard to market, and were still given a shot. Movies like All That Jazz, it's pretty insane a movie like that was given that much scale and still managed to turn a profit. Taxi Driver is kind of the shining example of movies that could only really be made in the 70s and turn a profit. Martin Scorsese showed us a delirious nightmare world filled with political violence and apathy and child prostitutes, and still somehow managed to make 10x his budget. Now, Taxi Driver was written by Paul Schrader, but Paul had a brother, Leonard Schrader. And on the other side of the world in Japan, in the late 1970s, Leonard Schrader was finishing up a script for a movie about a guy building an atomic bomb in his apartment. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The movie The Man Who Stole the Sun, a 1979 movie directed by Kazuhiko Hasegawa, written by Leonard Schrader. This is The Japanese Taxi Driver. Now, let me start by introducing Kazuhiko Hasegawa. Hasegawa started working in film in college, working under Shohei Imamura. This is not important, but Imamura is one of the most influential figures in Japanese cinema, mentoring many, including Takashi Miike. And if you're a fan of Miike, I think The Man Who Stole the Sun is going to be right up your alley. Hasegawa learned from Imamura what I would call artistically rich bad habits. Imamura brought him on for Profound Desire of the Gods, an 18-month-long production filmed in the remote island of Okinawa. Over budget and difficult to market was the Imamura method. And when it was Hasegawa's turn to make a movie, that teaching kind of bit him in the ass. His first attempt at a movie was scrapped 90% into production for being over budget and being a sex movie with too few sex scenes. Then, Hasegawa would go on to direct what would actually be his first feature film, The Youth Killer, which was produced under Imamura's production company. Now, this one was completed. Still over budget, but it was a massive success. And in all that success, he would go on to meet Leonard Schrader, and the two of them would become fast friends. So Leonard Schrader pitches him a movie idea. Ordinary guy in Japan builds an atomic bomb in his apartment. Now, Hasegawa was affected by the radiation of the Hiroshima bombing while he was still in the womb, and he responded to this pitch in the most perfect way. So stupid, so good. And that so stupid, so good ethos is a good descriptor of what the movie eventually became. You know, it's a movie with flamethrowers, wacky disguises, knockout gas, a man hanging from a helicopter. It's absolutely bananas. I mean, come on. One of the main conflicts of the movie is getting the Rolling Stones to play a concert in Japan. That's extraordinarily fun. But it's not all that the movie is. It's still the 1970s. Distrust for authority is at an all-time high. And Japan is specifically marred by two key issues: a lingering American military presence and political corruption. And sometimes both at the same time. Student protests that died down in the 1960s and this distrust for the government led the youth of Japan to lean more and more to the left. And that included Hasegawa. The Man Who Stole the Sun is about a disengaged high school teacher, Kido, played by Kenji Sawada. Opposite Kido is Inspector Yamashita, played by Bunta Sugawara. Now, the casting in this movie is immaculate. Sugawara is famous for his roles in Yakuza movies, and he brings a certain power to the role of Yamashita. Now, Kenji Sawada was a pop singer, and he had an androgynous persona named Julie, named after Julie Andrews. And that androgynous energy bleeds into his performance as Kido, who at one point disguises himself as a pregnant woman and is told that he sounds like a queer. The subject of masculinity is important in The Man Who Stole the Sun. Inspector Yamashita is a traditional rugged man who's got strength and determination and often seems invincible. The younger Kido is way more wayward, less determined, and lacks a sense of purpose. He finds himself seeking power in a world where he feels powerless. And what's more powerful than an atomic bomb? As in Lynn Schrader's pitch, Kido's building this atomic bomb in his apartment. And the actual build of that bomb is beautiful. The sequence is a 20-minute long, meticulous exploration of process. To quote the director Michael Mann in reference to his own movie Thief, I always find it interesting people who are aware, alert, conscious of what they do, and are pretty good at it. If you enjoy Thief, I think this sequence is going to be candy for your brain. Visually, it's a masterclass. The purple glow of the plutonium liquid as it illuminates the room, or the way that Kido sees himself in the reflection of the refined plutonium sphere, it makes an ordinary Japanese apartment seem otherworldly. And when he finishes the bomb, he crushes a beer and jams out to Bob Marley. Now that's peak cinema. The movie looks amazing. I mean, it blends a naturalistic cinematography with fantastical elements. Some of it was filmed guerrilla filmmaking style. Like, there's a scene during a Japanese Communist Party parade, and they got those shots by actually just being there on the day, no permits, no licenses, sneakily getting shots. Then on the other side, you have abstract sets, things like the nuclear power plant, which feels like it's from a futuristic sci-fi movie. In the police sequences, you have kind of a blend of the two. You have stylized realism, kind of like noir. The Man Who Stole the Sun has an interesting way of blending genre, where it feels like many different movies, but it's still a cohesive, singular idea. So Kido finishes the bomb, and he finally has that power where he can demand anything out of the world. He can blackmail the police and they will give him whatever he wants. So what do you ask for? What if you don't know what to ask for? History lesson, bitches. In the 1960s, Japan went through an economic boom. The GDP of Japan in 1960, $44 billion. The GDP in 1980, well over $1 trillion. Now that growth has been dubbed the economic miracle. Now, in just 20 years, Japan saw itself grow from an isolationist nation to a global superpower. Now, that growth was stunted in 1973 because of an oil crisis. Now, this crisis was caused by an embargo on oil to countries that supported Israel. With the Strait of Hormuz closed right now, all I can say, history rhymes. In all that economic growth, Japanese citizens found themselves making 7x what their parents were making. Life got easier. Minus all that government corruption and protesting I was talking about. But economically, the pressure to overwork yourself just to feed your family was alleviated. You could live alone. Jobs were easy to come by. And what became scarce in all of that was a sense of purpose. You could see a similar trend in Hollywood movies in the 90s. Movies like American Beauty or The Truman Show, where comfort and status quo trap us. And the characters, they seek out deeper truths about themselves and the world around them. Kido builds his bomb in a way to find himself. He's living life asleep at the wheel. He sets aside the safety of everyone in Japan for the feeling of one iota of power and control in a chaotic world. There's a brilliance to this movie. It's a tonal masterpiece. You have the doom and gloom of 1970s anti-establishment rhetoric, but then you also have cartoon misadventures and wacky hijinks, all blended together seamlessly. It's a biting cultural critique, but it's in a really charming package. The Man Who Stole the Sun didn't perform well at the box office. Kazuhiko Hasegawa blames it on the name change from Laughing A-Bomb to The Man Who Stole the Sun. I think it was just the wrong place, wrong time. Hasegawa never directed a third movie. He always lived and breathed the freedom of the 1970s, and while bittersweet, It is rather poetic that he was never able to direct a movie outside of it. And in the 1980s, Hasegawa would start the Directors Company, an upstart for young Japanese filmmakers, in which he would help launch the careers of directors like Kiyoshi Kurosawa, just like Shohei Imamura did for him. The Man Who Stole the Sun still struggles to receive the critical acclaim that I think it truly deserves. I mean, come on, it's Kojima approved. But the real problem is that people haven't seen it. If you're watching this video and you haven't seen it, first off, what are you doing? Secondly, go see it. Tell a friend to see it. Watch it. Please, see it. Watch this movie. And if you're watching this video on release and you live in New York, the Japan Society is doing a screening of The Man Who Stole the Sun. And go watch it. Please watch it. Thanks for watching.